Okay, we don't need a transcript. All right. Should say recording on your end. Can you see that? Yep. Okay, awesome. All right, good to go. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of our Impact and Influence series where we have Amity Dry from Owens Casserly Real Estate in Adelaide joining us. Amity, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Lauren.
We have a lot to cover in today's session because your story is really interesting. So I'm not going to give any context because I probably won't do it justice, but you haven't been in real estate your entire life, have you?
No, I haven't even been in real estate for 5 years yet.
You've got a lot to talk about in that space, but for context and for everyone else that's listening, can you just talk to me about your backstory and how you ended up in the real estate world?
Yes, okay, how far back do I go? I'll give like a really edited version because there's been a lot of drama along the way. I have been in the arts since I was 15 years old. I did my first gig, so I was a singer-songwriter. I was on the first series of The Block back in 2003. I had a top 10 album called The Lighthouse that year. I then wrote a musical about marriage and motherhood that played in New York and London and Norway. It's actually currently playing in Finland right now. Then went and did the Block All-Stars series in 2013 when I had 2 small children, which I won that series. And so renovating and design and interior design was always a hobby of mine, but it was never my job. Being a musician and being a performer was my job. And I loved it, absolutely loved it. I performed for audiences all around the world. By 2020, I had a really good career singing on cruise ships. I was traveling, managing to make a living in the arts, which is no small feat. And then COVID came along and I don't really even have to tell people what that did. So within a few days, I lost a year's worth of income that I had lined up, gigs and everything was cancelled. At the same time, I had just gone through a divorce about a year before that. And so I was a single mum with 2 kids that relied on me. So it was pretty dire times. And I would go for walks every day during lockdown and look at houses and think, oh, I would do that with this house and I love this, and like people that love houses do. Yeah. And then I was thinking, what can I do? What job can I take on where I can just start now and start earning money now? I didn't want to work in a shop, but I was like, I'm not trained for anything else. All I've ever done is be a performer and a musician. I had a friend, so I had done I'd styled a home for Nathan and Alex for OC a few years back, and I had a friend that had worked with them, and I called him and I said, I'm thinking about real estate, what do you think? And he's like, oh my God, yes, you'd be amazing, call Nathan. So I called Nathan, I came in, I met the head of HR, and she was like, I'll give you a job tomorrow. So they said, get your license while you're in lockdown. So I went, and they said it'll probably take about 3 months. I did it online. It took me 7 weeks. I just did it at night. I treated it like a full-time job. Yep. And then I started November 2020. Yeah, first time I'd ever had a corporate job. First time I'd ever worked in an office. First time I'd ever worked full-time. Like there was a lot of news.
So what with those news, because you're right, like changing careers is hard enough, but changing careers, I suppose being forced to change careers is even harder. What do you wish you had have known about real estate when you took that job?
To be honest, I think as soon as I had that first meeting with Nathan, and he was sort of trying to tell me like all the bad things about it, I guess, like being realistic, like just so you know, you only earn money that you generate. I was like, yep, that's already the case. So you know, there's no this. Yep, that's already the case. Like in terms of being a freelance artist, it was exactly the same. So I think it would be a harder adjustment if you'd come from a steady income and guaranteed income and 9 to 5, but I had never had that. Like if I don't write new shows and if I don't sell tickets, I don't have any money either. So it's not that different. So I was always used to being a hustler, and so I sort of realized 3 days into the job, actually, this is exactly what I know how to do. It's just a different product.
Yeah, awesome. So initially, and you and I have worked together for a little while, so I know initially there were some challenges for you around confidence, consistency, and probably energy. Would that be correct in saying that? tell me, because I know that there's been a big shift in the last even just 6 months, and it's so great to see, but how did you overcome those initial challenges?
I think because I had a profile, particularly in Adelaide, I sort of thought that I would just start and be good at it straight away. And I think lots of people knew me, but then convincing them to sell their biggest asset with me just because
Yeah.
they've watched me on the block or they've been to my shows, it's a completely different thing. So having to start from scratch when you felt like you were really good at your previous career is very humbling. Like
Mm.
in your 40s, learning a new skill and having to not be the best. Yeah, that takes some adjustment, and having to be like a junior. Like I basically started as an associate and had to learn everything new, and you just have to check your ego and just kind of go, okay, well, I was good at that other thing and now I'm starting and I'm learning, and just be open to learning. And I think I realized I'm a pretty fast learner, and because I am very determined, I just soaked everything up and I learned really quick. And the other thing, it's hard in this job to learn by making mistakes, which is the best way of learning,
Mm.
because you can't afford to make mistakes with people's biggest assets. So,
Yeah.
you are going to make mistakes, but I did sort of throw myself into the deep end, but that is also a bit risky. So it's like you don't want to like learn too badly. So yeah, I guess I didn't have the luxury of taking too long to learn. I had to get good at it quick. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
it was learning from those around you. So you mentioned that you started in that associate role. Like, is
Yeah.
that for you the best place that you could have started? And I know you're now out on your own and
Yeah.
have just put an associate on. So
Yeah.
what were the learnings in that space?
100%. So actually, when I first started, I wasn't working as an associate. They kind of went, okay, well, you've got a profile, you know how to run a business, you can start as a sales agent. And I floundered because I actually listed my first property within a few, like 2 weeks or something of being in the office. But I had no idea what I was doing. So
Yeah.
I've always been like a fake it till you make it person, but you can't actually fake, $1 million properties and contracts, and you just can't. So I realized, okay, this isn't going to work. I actually need to learn from somebody. And so there was someone in part of our team who was looking for an associate, and Luke, our director, said to me, I think you should work with Alistair. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to be someone's associate. Like I was like, if they asked me to make them coffee, it's a no. Like I just had to really say, oh, like I'm just a junior, like I could earn more money going and waiting tables. But again, check the ego. And
Yeah.
within a week of working with Alistair, I absolutely loved him. He never treated me like his associate. He treated me like his equal, and just said, okay, you're here to learn. I can teach you things. And I think he would say that I taught him things about, I guess, being a working mother and what that means. And because most of our clients are working mothers. And
Yeah.
so how I just naturally relate to people, that, I think we were an excellent team. And within 6 months of working together, we were doing very, very well.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to step out onto your own?
Well, I think a year. So it was going to be 6 months. And then he was like, give me another 6 months. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready. He's like, just give me 6 more months. Because he's like, this is not a normal market to learn in. Like a COVID hot market is not, you're not going to learn
He's
the
so
skills
right.
that you actually
Yeah.
need. Yeah. So he's like, last year the market started to slow down a little bit. Sorry, the end of the year before. And he was like, just let's do this for a little bit longer. So by the time I left, I was like, no, I'm really ready now. Like this is comfortable and we're doing really well, but I want to do it on my own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing. And then when you step out on your own, the structure takes, of like, what you have to do each day takes a bit of a
Yeah.
turn, doesn't it? Because you're used to working in that team environment.
Mm.
So discipline, accountability is probably not your strength, and
No,
I know
that's so
that
offensive,
because
Lauren.
I'm allowed to say it.
Yeah. No, it's not on my top list of skills. Yeah.
So how do you manage, like when it's not your strength, but you know that you have to have that consistency and that discipline? What do you do? Like practical tips for anyone listening?
Oh God, I'm still struggling at it. Like I was someone that was like never on time for anything before this job. So I've really had to work at like being more structured. And look, I'm still never going to be, I am much more creative than structured, but you really do die in this job if you don't have some structure.
Yeah.
And I'm even finding now, like I'm so busy that I have to also now get better at it now at this level, and just try and have like better time management, better diary management. I use Agent Box. I love Agent Box. And I think because I started learning with Agent Box, all of the new technology that some of the more old school agents still haven't really embraced, I only ever learnt with that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm someone that relies heavily on my phone and things like that anyway. So everything is on there. So I was pretty good. Like Agent Box is definitely excellent for me in terms of setting tasks and things like that. But
Yeah.
I'm never going to be naturally organized. So I do have to work at it and sort of try and have more structure. But I think it's going to always be a work in progress, to be honest.
But it's good to know your strengths and weaknesses, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, no, people don't list with me because I'm not the analytical one. I'm not like, if
Yeah.
you want that, we have other agents that will be amazing at that. I'm relationship based and my strength is in my communication. So
Absolutely.
at some point, I'll just put on more staff members who can be the structure so that I can just talk to people because that's what I'm good at.
That's a really good point, because it's when you're building your team, and I know you've just put your first associate on, it's about choosing people who are not like you, but choosing people who do the things for you that you're not good at doing, because that helps you move forward. So I think that's a really good point. Now you mentioned your differences, and I think I'd like to just talk about that for a minute, if you don't mind, because I think when you look at your Google reviews, and you know what you and I talk about when we've been working together, you really are that relationship based person. But tell me some of the things that you do for your clients that really kind of sets you apart in that client experience space from your competitors. Can you talk to us about that?
I think I just treat them like they're my friend. Like, and how I would communicate with them is how I would want someone to communicate with me. In fact, I did sell my house last year, and I wanted to hear from Alistair, who sold it for me, who's my co-agent, like every day. Just tell me what's happening. Like, just check in with me. And I'm a big one on text. Like, I communicate to my clients like I would communicate to my girlfriends, right? So it's like checking in. It might be a WhatsApp message at 10 o'clock at night, like, which is a lot for me to maintain that level of communication. But that's just sort of what people get with me. Like, I'm very contactable. I'm also very reassuring. Like, I just constantly reassuring that this feels normal. This is because it's nerve wracking. Like, we forget because we do this like every day. This is massive for people. So you have to hold their hand. I never want someone to have a question and have to contact me asking me something that because I haven't already covered it. Like, I want them to feel all the time like I'm over servicing them and I'm over communicating.
Yeah.
And I think I do that well.
Yeah, I love that. So if they're coming to you for a question, essentially in your mind, you haven't done your job properly.
Yeah, like I feel bad, like, oh, I shouldn't have had to do that. They should have already known that.
Yeah,
Yeah, or that
amazing.
they never feel like there's any question that's too stupid. Like that they can come to me with anything and I'm going to be like, yeah, there's an answer for that. That's all normal. That's all fine. So that they, they just feel like they're in control, because it's that lack of control that makes people nervous.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I've got one last question for you. Anyone who is listening at the moment who is either just starting out in real estate or maybe just starting out in sales, what's that one piece of advice that you would give to them?
I would say do it your way. Don't try to be anybody else. Be yourself. Like, I think you and I had a session last year where I was sort of like fixated on I'm not hitting my call numbers, or I'm not doing this, or like all the sort of structured things. And you were like, it doesn't matter if your aim is 4 in, 4 out a month or 5 or whatever it is. That's what you focus on. Do it your way. Like, be who you are. I think as soon as I realized that I'm not like that alpha male who's getting up at 5 a.m. and jogging around, like going to the gym and hitting the phones at 7 a.m. That's not who I am. I'm a mum that's got lots of things to juggle. I have my style, and I'm just going to be that because I will be right for some people and then other people will be right for them. I'm not trying to be them. I'm just trying to do it my way. And when you're authentic like that, people respond to it.
Awesome piece of advice. Amity, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome, Lauren. Thank you.